What's up, everybody? Welcome in on this Tuesday night to the Rebel Report. My name is Michael Borky. Always glad that you are with me. And tonight have 4 audio cuts for you. Well, video. I've got video for you as well of Lane Kiffin's press conference. A couple of things that stood out to me. So I've got 3 different things to talk about when it comes to what Lane talks about. One is his Washington State comments were very coach speaky, but there was some other stuff in him talking about Washington State that stood out. Also, there's a quote in there about Trinidad that not only is really funny, but there's a part of it that is very interesting when it comes to the way he views the job that he currently has, and then on the health of Austin Simmons. So I've got those for you on this edition of the show. Always glad that you guys are here. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Just search for Rebel Report. That's all you got to do. And you can subscribe. And if you like what you hear, leave a rating and a review. Also right here on YouTube, leave a comment, like, all that good stuff as well. I would really appreciate that. And this edition and every edition of the podcast is brought to you in part by Toyota of Brookhaven. Check them out online at toyotabrookhaven.com. That's the website. They're off of Exit 40 in Brookhaven. They will take care of you with a legitimately great car buying experience. Also, they'll give you $1,000 off on me. Any in-stock new Toyota, $1,000 off on me, because that's what they do at Toyota of Brookhaven. They will take care of you. But not just because I sent you, they'll take care of you because that's what they'll do. They have also one of the highest rated service departments in the state. Check out their online inventory. And their in-house financing is also pretty outstanding, especially considering interest rates around the country. So check them out, Toyota of Brookhaven. They will deliver for you. All right, Lane Kiffin talking Washington State, and there's some other stuff that he throws in there. It's only about a minute and a half here of Lane Kiffin previewing Washington State, also issues a challenge to fans, and more. So here that is. We'll talk about it on the other side.
This is a really good challenge for us, coming off of a bye, to play really well against a team that is 3-2, and really in their 3 losses played great defense. I think they've given up 3, 10, 13, so basically 9 points a game. And you see in college football, you got to come play every week. You see it all around the country. Saturday watching games. So really challenged our guys not to listen to the noise out there about where there are rankings, any of that stuff, because none of that means anything until the final one. And so thought guys were really good today. We're going to continue to push them all week. And I challenge our fans too, to show up. I was thinking, as fans, rightfully so, we can't stand when a team comes out flat or, doesn't show up and waits a half to start playing well. So that's what fans expect of coaches and players. So why wouldn't we be the same? Last Saturday was electric here in the stadium, and before on the walk, I understand a lot of it's because they hate LSU, but why not show up like that every week? And this one, an early kick, would be awesome for our fans to do that and show up the same way, students, everybody, and because it's the biggest game of the year, because it's the only game this week that we have. So let's coach, play, and cheer the same way.
All right, a few things from that. Number one, the stuff about Washington State, with all due respect, is pure coach speak, and it's pure coach speak when he brings up 3 of the games that they've played this season and how in those 3 games they average only giving up 9 points per game or whatever. The other 2, they gave up 59 points in each of them. This game and the outcome of this game is entirely dependent on Ole Miss, exclusively dependent on Ole Miss. If Ole Miss plays well, Washington State literally cannot beat them. If Ole Miss does not play well, then things get weird, of course. But no, in a game makes this an impossible task for Washington State. Omitting the 2 59-point games tells you all you need to know about that first part. But that's what you got to do. It's coach speak. You got to do it sometimes. The second thing in there, the fan challenge. I actually liked that from him. If you guys have been listening to me long enough, you know that I hate, and not just what Kiffin did. If people in sports call out fans, it drives me crazy. because you are being asked to do more than you ever have before. You're asked, you guys know this. I don't need to rant about this tonight, but you're asked to pay more than you ever have before. You're asked to go more than you ever have before. And if coaches are going to complain about not having, another $2,000 weekend, I think that's bogus. He didn't do that there. I like his new approach to the way he challenges the fans. And we talked about it after the LSU game. I think that Vaught-Hemingway Stadium, which it's really not the stadium at all, it's the people inside of it, has made massive improvements when it comes to creating an environment that actually impacts the outcome of the game. You guys have all seen that Skycam footage of the Georgia game, but the LSU game was like that as well. Every defensive snap, you had a loud, engaged crowd on their feet, everything. And it impacted the Vaught-Hemingway crowd now impacts the results on the field to some degree. Ultimately, the better teams win games most of the time, but that place has become a true football environment. And it didn't used to always be that way. Even in big games, it was still, they'll get up for third down. And it was too much reactionary as opposed to creating the environment. They waited for the game to create the environment, if that makes sense. Didn't happen in the LSU game. Has not happened in big games much for Ole Miss lately. It's getting much better. In a game like this, it's a morning kickoff. I think that you kind of have a coach saying, hey, look, you know what would be great if you created that energy like you did against the LSU game. Lane Kiffin's not naive. He knows that Washington State doesn't get you as excited. He knows that. He knows that Tulane didn't. He knows that when Florida and South Carolina come to town, it's not going to be the same as Washington State. But I think what he's getting at is that this is the next step that the in-stadium environment can take when you've got a lesser opponent. All right, show up here ready to be loud and intense and start the game that way. And then when the lead is built, sit down, relax, and enjoy your Saturday. I think kind of that's the next step that the stadium can take is, regardless of opponent, initially create intimidating environment. When the game gets out of hand, relax, as opposed to expecting the game to be out of hand so you relax right away. I went to a Clemson-Furman game a long time ago, and I was struck by how right away it was an intimidating environment. And then Clemson scored a few times, and then, of course, everybody relaxed, right? I think that's what Vaught-Hemingway Stadium can now start doing more of than it did, than it has in the past, is for the first 15 minutes of this game, make it intense, loud, crazy, all that. And then when it becomes what you expect it to become, you can relax a little bit. Anyway, that's what I think he's talking about there. And it's right. If it is, it's right. It can be that. And then finally, I'm not going to play all the cuts of him doing this, but in this press conference, the common theme was talking about over and over and over again the need to keep the team humbled. And I don't think it didn't sound to me, you guys can watch it for yourself and tell me if I'm crazy. It didn't sound to me like it was from the perspective of, I'm worried about my team getting big heads, but it was, that's the point of emphasis this week for Ole Miss, is reminding them that you haven't won anything yet. A number 4 ranking means nothing in October. Absolutely nothing at all. You have not won a championship. You haven't won anything significant. You haven't made the playoff. You haven't won a playoff game. So if you are getting big-headed, you better stop, because you're going to get beat if that's the case. And that could very well start this weekend. And you heard that a lot throughout this press conferences, talking about keeping them engaged and focused on the day-to-day task instead of looking ahead to Georgia. And that's what I said on Sunday, and I'll say it again here. This is why I call it a character game. If Ole Miss shows up and plays well right away and they're locked in and all that stuff, it is revelatory of the type of character that this team has if they're able to come off of the bye week and the big win against LSU and not get caught looking ahead to Georgia. I saw Big Cat and PFT did what they promised him in his interview on Pardon My Take, that they would provide some rat poison, or not rat poison, some bulletin board material. And if you guys didn't listen to Kiffin's interview on Pardon My Take, and you see a couple Barstool guys talking about how Washington State's going to beat Ole Miss, it's because he asked them to do that. So they're going to slap it up on the video boards in the facility now and all that. He asked for that. So if you guys see that and you're wondering, wait, what the hell's going on? It's because of that. But yeah, that's the thing this week. This week's all about Ole Miss and how they execute and how they play, and can they keep themselves on the tracks here? Can they keep themselves focused on the one task, one day at a time? Because if they get caught looking ahead, they'll get caught. And it's really that simple. So it was a big point of emphasis from listening to Lane and I assume in practice and in meetings and all that. It'll be a big talking point. Last year's team either couldn't handle the pressure, was too flawed. I don't know what it is, but last year's team had the same expectations that this one has now, and they came up short. What will this one do differently to make sure that that doesn't happen? We'll see, but they are certainly aware of that. All right, next thing I've got for you, Kiffin was asked about Trinidad and the flags and stuff. This is a really, really great quote on multiple different levels. One, it's just funny, and the other, pretty sentimental. So here that is right now, Lane Kiffin talking about his quarterback.
You know, we've asked him this a couple times, but Trinidad, what has it meant to you to see the town and the fans kind of rally around him with the flags everywhere? And I guess now a video of some kind that's popped up over the bye week, just seeing how quickly the fan base has kind of embraced him.
Yeah, I think our fan base, loves these stories like this, and having a number of players before, kind of with kids here and just, prescorn and how much the community embraces the players here. It's really awesome, kind of as their own, like they're kind of adopted kids coming in here. I think the Trinidad thing is a great story, like I've said, for all players at Division II, Division III, lower high schools that feel like they're not going to get looked at, that, just keep preparing, playing really hard. You never know what's going to happen. I think it's funny, the flags everywhere. I dropped Knox off at his buddy's house, and they have a big Trinidad flag in the house. So now they got songs about the island and everything. So it's really awesome too. I don't like to kind of kill the story, but that he's not from an island. He's from Michigan. His dad's from South Bend, Indiana, and he's been to one island in his life on a field trip when he was little, to Mackinac Island in Michigan. So he's never even been around blue water, let alone sand and an island. So he doesn't come from an island, but it's a great story. Somebody, I think in the South, there's a saying like, don't let the facts and details get in the way of a good story. So maybe we'll just run with this one.
All right, that is absolutely hilarious. I mean, I loved basically every bit of that. That was so funny. The whole, I dropped my kid off at his buddy's house, and there's a Trinidad flag hanging out of the house. And y'all know that, he's not from the island, right? Like, he's not from an island. He's only been to one in his life, and it was at a lake. Like, just so y'all know, very funny stuff. It made me laugh a couple of times. And, what an awesome story Trinidad Chambliss is just in general. How cool is this? You have, especially in this era in college football, the whole Cinderella story is going to have to come from different places now. I don't think you're going to have a team be a true Cinderella story anymore. You're still going to get upsets. Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame last year. I mean, that kind of stuff's still going to happen. But a multi-week Cinderella story might just have to come in the form of players as opposed to teams. And it always kind of has been. But that, I think, has been more reserved for the NFL than college, more so. Because in the NFL, you've got, well, this guy came from Ferris State and became a superstar in the NFL, those kind of things. But it can happen at this level now, too. Here's a guy that came from Ferris State, and he was great at Ferris State, won a championship. I mean, all kinds of awards and everything. But how many people in the country can tell you where Ferris State is? Okay? I mean, how many of you knew what Ferris State was before Trinidad came on board? Not many. And so here's this guy, this Division II quarterback, won a whole lot, bet on himself, went to a place that already had a starter, and because of injury became the starter, played well, and now you've got this entire community of people that are waving the flag of an island nation in front of their home during the week. It's just so uniquely sports stories like this. And I love the story of Trinidad Chambliss. It's really cool. And I mean, we'll see how it ends. We don't know how it ends, but this is a uniquely college football story. The organic nature of here's this guy, came out of nowhere, small college, Ferris State, bets on himself, goes to the SEC, plays well, wins big games, the flag of an island nation everywhere. You've got this song. I know it's AI, but you've got this song out there now. This is college football at its core, even though it's modernized with the transfer portal. I absolutely love this story. This has been a joy to just kind of watch unfold this season. And then that quote about the people here treat the athletes like like they're adopted children really, I think, leads some insight into what your head coach thinks about the job that he's currently got. Because there are things that coaches say about the places in which they currently work that are generic. That wasn't a generic statement. That was a lived and observed experience from a head coach that pointed out something that is, to him anyway, unique about the current situation that he has. I would take that quote if I were Ole Miss. That would be plastered everywhere. People, family is said at every program. Brian Kelly with his famous family quote, all that stuff. I mean, everybody talks about family, the Auburn family, all that. That was different, though. That wasn't cliche. That wasn't slapping on a poster at the facility or whatever. That was a guy that's legitimately witnessed that side of it and brought it up. They're going to use that in recruiting, but I would read into that, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. I think I would read into that. And finally, 2 questions about Austin Simmons, one about his health, and then one about can he win his starting job back. Here is both of those.
Getting back on the field?
Yeah, he is. And continuing to get closer to 100%. He's not there yet. So this week for him was good. And we'll see tomorrow.
To what extent, if at all, do you feel like Austin has a chance to challenge for the starting job this week?
A lot as far as, down the road. But again, he's not back to 100%. And so we'll continue to evaluate that and look at everything. And we're in a great place. I mean, we have 2 great quarterbacks. I think we have 2 quarterbacks that are better than a lot of people's number 1. And so it's awesome to be in this position.
All right. So this situation is going to start getting interesting at some point. Right now, the injury thing is still an easy cop-out. I remember he said recently that when he's 100%, Austin Simmons is the starting quarterback of the team. I just don't believe that. And I don't like, calling other people liars. And I don't like that. But I don't believe that. I think Trinidad Chambliss is this team's quarterback, regardless of he's won the job. Wally Pipp has happened. And so how much longer can this go? How much longer can he's not 100% thing last? How much longer can it last before it becomes, Trinidad's just better for this team this season? Maybe not long term, I don't know. But right now, it is abundantly clear that one of them is ready to win games for this, more ready to win games for this team right now than the other one. One had 2 starts to prove it, didn't prove it. The other one has beaten Arkansas, Tulane, and LSU. So you've got it now, but what happens when he is 100%? What will you do then? And I'm very interested to see what that's like, because you've got the injury thing for only so much longer before he's fully healthy. And you have said publicly, who knows what you've said privately, but you've said publicly when he's 100%, he's the starting quarterback of the team. How are you going to handle it when he gets there? I'm very curious to see. I mean, how are you going to handle this weekend? Is he healthy enough to play? What happens if you have a 40-point lead at the end of the third quarter? You don't want Trinidad playing anymore. So what are you going to do then? Interesting. It's very interesting, and the clock is ticking on the current explanation for why one is playing over the other that they've given. I mean, the real answer is because Trinidad is the right fit right now. But what's going to happen when Simmons is healthy? I don't know. I'm very curious to see how that gets handled. Podcast is brought to you in part by Advantage Business Systems. Check them out online at absms.com. Advantage Business Systems has you covered for all of your Mississippi office technology needs. absms.com. Again, that's the website. If you need technology in the office, Advantage Business Systems, absms.com. Also, Priority One Bank, they make you their priority. There's 16 locations here in Mississippi, so there's very likely to be one in your backyard. They have local loan servicing and decision-making. They have a great online banking platform. They are where I bank, and you can bank with me at Priority One Bank. They'll make you their priority as well. What's up, guys? Good to see you. Edward, my man. Howdy from San Diego. No disrespect to Washington State, but it kind of feels like bye week part 2, the calm before the storm. It does. They've still got to play the game, but you're not kidding. It does. They don't have to go win by 50 or anything, but playing this game like how they did Tulane would be a good look. I agree completely. Usually get a sleepwalk game from Kiffin every year, a 31-17 meh game. Yeah. Right now, I would bet against that happening. This team does feel different when it comes to focus and attention to detail, but we'll see. Going off of what Lane said about wanting to keep playing when they're performing well and no bye week, I like how the Washington State game comes now and not last week. The bye came at a perfect time. Yeah, and they have this game to kind of like get them back, to get their feet back under them and start playing football again before they have to go head to Athens, because I know Georgia hasn't looked perfect, but they are still super talented, and they have lost in that building now one time since 2019. It happened to be against Alabama 2 weeks ago, but that's all we're talking about. It's still an incredibly difficult challenge. And then they have to turn around and go face another incredibly difficult challenge, of which John Mateer, unless he re-aggravates an injury, will be playing in that game. So Lane and the program have 1,000% earned a jam-packed stadium every single week. Yeah, and, if the Citadel game's not 100% full, whatever. It's the Citadel. With all due respect to my Bulldogs. I think I've showed you. This is in my home office right here. Citadel baseball hat. I've got a couple of them, actually. This one doesn't fit at all. Look at how small my buddy's head is. Look at this thing. Come on now. Look at that. He gave me one that actually kind of fits, though. But anyway, so I'm a Citadel guy. I love the Citadel Bulldogs. It's okay if Vaught Hemingway is not 100% full for the Citadel game, but generally I agree with you. I think that they have absolutely earned that as a program. Wasn't going to go, but decided that every weekend is really important, no matter the opponent. This program deserves it. I think it'll be a great crowd, and also, man, just being in the stadium and watching your team win is fun. The at-home experience does not beat the experience of being at the ball game and watching your team win. That's just something I profoundly disagree with. And because of that, people are taking advantage of you. Concession prices and all that are a joke, and it's easier to stay home. But for those of you that were at the LSU game, where would you have rather been? Where would you have rather been than at that place? So the in-game experience always trumps the at-home experience. But it is easier to stay home. It is sad what's happened to Washington State and Oregon State the last 2 years, and both their programs have been in free fall as well. It really sucks. Conference realignment is such a joke. James Franklin and Lincoln Riley talking about and complaining about travel is a joke. This is what you signed up for. This is what you wanted. Conference realignment is so much worse than NIL or transfer portal to me. The fact that you have, Rutgers and Washington coming up for a conference game is a joke. It's all just, anyway. 11:45 kick with a team that will bring very little to no fans. Should we expect around 55 to 60K? Yeah, I think about 60, close to 60. There will be visible empty seats in the Washington State sections, though. When will they have a night game? We will find out about South Carolina here in a couple of weeks. Florida will end at night regardless, even if it kicks off at 2:30 because it gets dark by then. When is daylight savings switch over? November 2nd. So that's the day after the Ole Miss South Carolina game is when it switches over. But that game should end when it's dark as well, regardless. I know that's not exactly what you're asking, but still, you'll get to do the fireworks and all that stuff, and it'll look good. Georgia 2:30 seems like a win. Not sure why everyone was expecting a night game. Tennessee Bama was going to get that if they kept winning. Yeah, it is a win. I don't know if it makes that much of a difference, but it's certainly better than being late at night. That's for sure. Nothing annoys you more than purely reactionary fans. Yes. And that is changing in Vaught Hemingway for sure. That is changing. Listen to Neil and Chase talk about this today. How do you evaluate the argument of, quote, moving the goalpost, quote, based on preseason expectations to what they are now? That's a great question and topic. How do you evaluate that? But here's the thing. I mean, I didn't hear this conversation, so I very well could be just kind of repeating what they said. But you don't know what these teams are before the season starts. You don't know. You really don't know what they are. Now there are expectations, and if they're not met, then things are they become an issue. Like last year's team, you knew before the season began that they were talented enough to make the playoff, and they were certainly more talented than finishing 9-3 in the regular season. They should have won more games. So the preseason expectation matched what the team was supposed to be. We didn't know what Ole Miss would be in a lot of spots, specifically at quarterback. That was the biggest question. What is Ole Miss going to be at quarterback? Don't know. Austin Simmons hasn't started a game yet. Well, it turns out it wasn't Austin Simmons, but now we know what their ceiling is at quarterback, and it's really high. And they're much closer to their ceiling at the most important position on the field than I thought that they would be at this point in the season. So because Trinidad has been so good so far, and I mean, by the time LSU got to play him, he was still lighting it up. So it's not like, I mean, they had plenty of film on him by that point and still couldn't stop him. You recalibrate, especially in the portal era, based on what you've seen them actually do. I think the new evidence allows you to adjust, should allow you to adjust things like expectations as the season goes on. In both ways, right? What happens if there's a couple of injuries? Knock on wood, that doesn't happen. But what happens if there's a couple of injuries? You recalibrate what expectations are based on the evidence that actually gets presented to you. I don't think now, if they finish 8-4, I don't really want to hear, well, back in August, that would have been acceptable. Well, it's not anymore. They started the season 5-0, and they're getting great quarterback play. Finished 3-2 in the SEC, and they make the playoff. 8-4 is not good enough anymore. It would be a colossal failure. So it's a very interesting discussion topic for sure. Because, I mean, I don't know if there's a wrong answer either. But anyway. If only John Mateer was playing for Washington State and not Oklahoma. No kidding. Kind of 2 weeks in a row focusing more on the other conference games. Do you have any specific thoughts on them? Could have another chaotic week. It's a ton of small lines. Yeah, the Auburn-Georgia line is making me feel weird. I think Auburn defensively is so good that game's going to be a slog, but they won't be able to score, and that'll be it. Alabama-Missouri is one that I think the wrong team is favored in, for whatever that's worth. The combination of Pribula and Ahmad Hardy is going to be something that I don't think Alabama has seen this year. And yes, that includes Georgia on the road. I think that Missouri's, and yes, that includes Vanderbilt, which is a crazy thing to say. But Missouri presents offensively the biggest challenge that Alabama has faced so far this season. And I'm kind of big on the Tigers here. Red River's all about John Mateer's health. If he's healthy, they'll play and they'll win. I mean, he's practicing, but it doesn't sound like he's a full go. I don't know. Brian Kelly needs this one badly against South Carolina, needs it badly for a lot of reasons. And frankly, I think you, the Ole Miss fan, should be rooting for LSU in this game and then rooting against LSU later in the season. You want South Carolina, in my opinion, to kind of be just knocked down a few times before they come to Oxford. You want kind of a lifeless South Carolina team in that game. I mean, LSU's got a chance for losses later. They're in Norman. They're in Tuscaloosa. They got to play Texas A&M. I mean, they're in Nashville, which will not be easy. So losses are coming for LSU. You don't have to worry about that. Sure, you saw Texas favorite over Oklahoma. Josh Pay confirmed that they will still be a favorite if Mateer was a full go. I'm shocked by that last part. I'm shocked by that because I don't buy that. But can't help but feel bad for Austin Simmons, but feel great for Chambliss. However, I mean, it's not like this is the end of the road for Austin. If he was a senior, that'd be different, right? But he's got plenty. I mean, he's 19. He's got plenty of time and plenty of eligibility left. And also he's making over $1 million this year. So I do too, because it sucks, right? I mean, he was set to take over an SEC program that is a really quarterback-friendly system, and this happened, and that is unfortunate. But he'll be fine. Kiffin and his staff literally saved a season and maybe elevated it by snagging Chambliss in the spring portal window, which won't exist anymore. That's a good point. But yeah, they did. Now, again, you can enroll really anytime. So it's only some kind of a barrier, but yeah. Not going to say they deserve a national title, but they deserve a national title. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Thing about Simmons is that the fan base was also bought in on him hard, and there's been many who have not forgotten about him, but I'm guessing his injury is a prolonged issue. Yeah. Thoughts on Lane's son claiming he doesn't want to play for his dad? I wouldn't want to play for my dad at that level either. I totally understand the desire to go and branch out and do something else. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. I know that it was pretty controversial with Mike Bianco and his kids. I don't see it that way. If my dad were a college football coach, I love my dad, but I want my dad to be my dad. I don't want my dad to be my coach. I never liked when my dad coached, not because he was bad at it. He was great at it. And he stopped early on in my life because I wanted him to be dad. I wanted to be able to, if I screwed up or if I did something great, I wanted to be able to look to the stands and have my dad eyes focused, laser focused right on me to give me, I mean, no matter what I did, good or bad, whatever, it would always be like, hey, you're good. I'd miss a tackle and be like, hey, you're good. You're fine. Like just the reassurance of like that's my dad, not my coach. I would, if I were in Lane's son's shoes, I would feel the same way. I want dad to be dad, and I want coach to be coach, and I don't want dad to coach. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with that relationship. If it works for you, I'm not knocking it. It's just for me personally, I understand where he's coming from. It does not mean that the father-son coaching relationship to player relationship is not a great thing for people. I'm not saying that at all. I have learned based on some thoughts I shared on the radio show about how travel baseball is becoming a problem, that people, when they hear that, they think that you're talking about everybody involved in travel baseball, and that's not it. There's a lot of great people that do right by their players and handle it the right way, and there's a lot of bad actors involved that kind of ruin it for everybody. And so I really have to qualify my statements like that as I've learned, because got a couple of unhappy emails, but it wouldn't work for me, and it wouldn't work for what I want. But it doesn't mean, you doing it is wrong. So can't throw Simmons back out there going to Athens next week. You absolutely cannot. You simply can't do it. Austin, I appreciate you, man. Yeah, really appreciate you. Thank you. Thoughts on North Carolina canceling their season documentary? Yeah, it's easy. If you are making a documentary that your subject has to approve of the contents, and if things aren't going well, they can deny your ability to create the documentary. You're not creating a documentary, you're creating propaganda. And so I hope that the filmmakers sell what they have made to somebody so we can see it, because I could not possibly be more interested now in what the contents of what they filmed are than I would be if they were playing okay. So the idea that they can decide, oh, we don't want it because we're not playing well or whatever, is a joke. They just wanted a billboard and not a true documentary. If you want a billboard, have your in-house media people create a production like the season. By the way, the season's great, don't get me wrong, but the season is meant to be a billboard for Ole Miss sports. This North Carolina documentary getting pulled because they suck, that was just a billboard provided by somebody else, not in-house. Shouldn't happen. They got to cut ties with Belichick at season's end. It's so bad. It is so bad. And every story that comes out makes it look worse. Do I think Freeze has to beat Georgia? Ultimately, yes. I don't think he will get fired after this game. But, I mean, if they're 3-3 playing Missouri, although there might be some wins down here. They're so good defensively. I mean, they got Kentucky at home. They got Mercer, so there's 2 more. Missouri's certainly beatable at that building with the way they play defense. Arkansas certainly beatable with the way they play defense in that building. No, they're on the road. Sorry, dumb thing to say. Alabama is what I meant, or what I was trying to get at anyway. But some people are giving South Carolina some love to win this week, but I agree with you. There's no way. Any tips for you trying to start a sports radio show? Yeah, plenty. Don't do anything that I do because I'm not good at it. There's a lot that you can learn from other people, not me, but other people. What I would tell you is listen to a lot of others and learn some things from them, but don't copy them. Be yourself. I think that, and I've fallen into this too. It's a habit that I want to get out of, but too many people hear something that they like. I've done this plenty of times, and they replicate it instead of just finding their own voice. But do a lot of practice. Buy a dumpy little microphone and just record yourself talking, and you don't publish it anywhere. Just start with that. Just figure out how you want to deliver things, how you want to talk, how you want to sound like, how you want to structure arguments, how you have to figure that out, and you can't do that live. Don't do that live. Figure it out in your kitchen by yourself with a microphone and start there. You don't want to figure it out on the fly because it's not going to be good at first. I'm years into it, and I'm not good now. But you're certainly not going to be good at first, and you don't want to go to a station and buy airtime and then start trying to do a show if you've never done it before, because it will not work if that's the case. Simmons playing Saturday after Lane's claim he's still not 100% will certainly be a contradiction. Really interested to see who comes in after Trinidad. I am too. That might be the most interesting part of this game, to be honest with you. Being involved Hemingway for that LSU game was awesome. Oh, it's indescribable what being in the stadium for wins like that is. Have a family and friends that are Washington State fans. From what I'm hearing in their circles and their alum student groups are expecting quite a few fans. Oh, awesome. Well, good. You know, maybe it's one of those things where you never get to go. I probably shouldn't have said that. I mean, it's one of those, how often do you get to make a trip like this? So go do it kind of thing. It's a shame that the game's at 11:45 in the morning. So that's cool. I hope that happens, and I hope they have a good time, because God knows those fans deserve a good time. They deserve to have fun, and they deserve to play in big college football games again. And I hope the Pac-12 continues to become viable, because they deserve that. They do. Man, thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate you. Thank you. Unnecessary, but much, much appreciated. Genuinely feel awful for Oregon State and Washington State fans. Put yourself in their shoes for a minute. You show up every week, every year, then your conference falls apart, leaving you homeless. And it's not because they don't care. That's what makes it so frustrating, is Stanford does not care at all about football. They don't care. Couldn't care less. They don't support it. Nothing. They don't care. And yet they survive, and they get a lifeline from the ACC. Oregon State just put like $400 million into their stadium. Washington State fans care. Like, that's a program that cares about football. And they have a history of winning and like filling up their stadium and having fun teams. And yet at the end of the day, they get screwed, and it just sucks. It really does. Playoffs would be a missed opportunity now and not a failure. Do I agree with that? A missed opportunity, but not a failure. You can't call it a failure. You can't call a 9-3 in a rebuilding year where your quarterback gets hurt a failure. I agree. It would be really, really disappointing, though. If you're a fan of, what's your incentive to stay? Because you love it. You support your school and you love it. That's why. It's something that I'm kind of teaching my son right now. Is, I mean, when we were leaving the Superdome, when the Saints lost to the Cardinals, it was like, we love our team no matter what. He got really into the Ryder Cup on Sunday. That, like, the Sunday round of the Ryder Cup, he loves, being able to cheer for the United States. That's his thing. He loves the USA thing. And that's like 100% my fault. But he actually got upset when Russell Henley missed that putt and Europe won. He got like actually upset at a sporting event for the first time. Not too bad, but I got to have the talk of, man, doesn't matter what happens. We love our team no matter what, right? No matter what, win or lose, like, we never quit. And I think that's a really good, like, life lesson. And, it doesn't apply to everybody in this life, obviously. Some people switch fandoms and stuff like that. But to me, it's, you love your team no matter what. I will love you no matter what. Doesn't matter what you do. I'm always going to be, you can parlay that into a life lesson where if something doesn't go right, it doesn't mean that you quit. How many teams do you think could overcome an injury to their starting quarterback like Ole Miss has? Oh gosh, very few. Very few. There's some out there, but not many. Very few could do what Ole Miss has done. Personally, you think Mateer doesn't play and Texas wins? I kind of think he won't play as well. You want Ole Miss and Georgia to win this week? Or, excuse me, you want Oklahoma and Georgia to win this week? I think you're onto something there. You don't buy the Oklahoma hype? I kind of do. Thoughts on Indiana, Oregon? Ducks are only a touchdown favorite. I think that line is stinky, and Indiana's impressive, but I kind of feel like there's going to be a humbling this year. Could the Texas job be coming open? I don't think it's coming open, but things are about to get weird. Why has Wyatt Williams been the best defensive back? Because he's an awesome player. That's why. He's awesome. And also, what a great story for him, too. Small town. I mean, goes to Delta State. And don't get me wrong, great program. And it sucks that a place like Delta State and ULM lose players like him. But what a great story that is. 2 years ago, he was playing for Delta State. Last year, he was playing in the Sun Belt. And this year, he's starting for the number 4 team in the country. What a cool story that is. Sark is overrated, at least in some capacity. That graphic comparing him to Jimbo is pretty funny. It's pretty spot on. Can Missouri slow down Alabama's pass game? There's the $1 million question on Saturday. Do you have any opinions on the Arkansas job in comparison to SMU dealing with Rhett Lashley? Of course, I would stay at SMU if I were Rhett Lashley. I would. He's got resources. He's got money, and Arkansas's AD is openly talking about how they don't. I would stay. If Ole Miss is 7-1 after Oklahoma finishing 9-3 would be a failure. I agree with that. Context, like you said earlier, context is always needed. Saturday will be Kiffin's 50th win. How about that? Big Ten has like 6 good football programs, and the rest of the league is either incredibly mid or just straight up not invested into winning or couldn't care less. I agree with that. You have a lot of family in Lake Providence. His dad is the sheriff, and he got a warm welcome this past weekend when he returned home. That's really cool. That's really, really cool. I don't know much about him. I haven't seen that many interviews and stuff, so I don't know. I don't know much about him other than that story is a really good one. I guess he did a media op, and when I get a chance to watch that video, I'm really excited to hear from him. Because that's the kind of story that the portal allows. And it used to be, like I said earlier, it used to be the NFL would be the place where those guys would become the cool stories, but it's happening earlier now. So anyway, I got to run. You guys have a great night. We'll be back on Thursday. I'm hoping to have somebody on the radio show that covers Washington State. I'm efforting that. And hopefully that comes into fruition. So be on the lookout on Thursday if that does happen. I'll see you guys then. Enjoy the rest of your night. Talk to you Thursday.